What is a crack? So in this video, I'm going to be explaining how fast you should lose weight and how fast you should gain weight, right? And go through the different kind of, speeds at which you can do it at. If you would like, I'm going to use this spreadsheet to basically show you how to map it out and what to do, okay? So if you would like this spreadsheet, what you need to do is go into the description of this YouTube video and it will say 4 weeks free coaching, and when you click on that, you will get access to this spreadsheet, so you'll be able to do this all yourself, okay? So when it comes to fat loss or weight gain or maintaining weight and doing all these things, it's important to plan it out and have an idea about what you're doing. Body weight is a really good data source for seeing what you're trying to do, okay? So if you are losing weight and you're nailing your protein, nailing your training, if you do lose weight, it's going to be body fat. And if it's kind of heading in a direction, you probably, if you're doing everything right, you're going to be getting leaner, okay, and looking better and looking healthier, okay? It's the same with weight gain, right? If we know we're gaining a little bit of weight each week and we're training hard and we're eating enough protein, we know that little bit of weight gain each week is likely going to be muscle. So it is important to know which direction you're going, right? So basically, when you click on this, when you get this spreadsheet, when you apply or when you put your email down on the link below, you'll be asked to do a few things here, right? So you'll obviously get that video and it'll explain exactly what to do here. But I'm just going to go straight into it from here. So if you look at my height, it's about 188 centimeters. If you look at my age, I'm 28. Weight, I'm about 86 kilograms at the moment. And gender is male. There's only two. So sorry if you're something else. And yeah, if you have a look here, it's going to ask for goals and how many steps I do each day, okay? Now the reason, I do all this is so it maps out, right, and shows me exactly what I want to do. So you'll see here you've plenty of options, right? So you've got maintain weight, lose 0.25%, lose 0.5%, lose 0.75%, lose 1%, and then you have gain, all four of them as well, okay? You will notice here I've done it as a percentage as opposed to an amount of weight. So it's not like lose 0.5 kilos or lose, 1 kilo a week. It's a percentage of your body weight, because that makes more sense, right? Because if you're 100 kilos, and you lose 1% per week, that's 1 kilo. Whereas if you're a 50 kilo woman and you want to lose 1% per week, it's 0.5 kilos, as opposed to a 50 kilo woman losing 1 kg per week, which would definitely be too fast. It's all relative to your body weight, okay? So actually, do you know what? For argument's sake, I'm just going to put in 100 here, just because it's going to make the math super easy, okay? And then how many steps you do on average. So basically, that's just asking that question basically to map out how many steps you're going to do for the 4 weeks, okay? So how fast should you lose weight? So you'll see here maintain weight is the first thing. I generally wouldn't recommend that you just maintain your weight. So what people will do there is they try the body recomposition, which is essentially where they increase their muscle mass at the same rate they lose their body fat. So their body weight stays the same, but they start to look better over time. I wouldn't recommend that. I think you should pick a lane. I think you should lean into a slight fat loss or lean into a slight weight gain. Either one of them. The reason being is, again, if we kind of see our body weight moving in the direction we want, we can kind of make the assumption that we're getting the results we want. Obviously, your pictures are going to detail that, but it's better to lean, right? And the reason I don't like the maintaining of weight is just because you're not going any meaningful direction. I just think it's going to be a lot more effective if you choose to either lose weight or gain weight, okay? Now, that doesn't mean you have to, and this is the thing what I'm saying, it's you don't have to lose loads of weight, you don't have to gain loads of weight. I'm just saying lean into one, decide which one you want to do, okay? So there's four weight loss measurements here. So there's 0.25%, 0.5%, 0.75%, and 1%, okay? If you don't have that much body fat to lose and you just kind of want to do a very light deficit, get a little bit leaner, you're already in good shape, 0.25% is perfect, okay? That's for people already in decent shape. They don't really care if they lose that much body fat. But again, it's just kind of that leaning. It's kind of like, I'm not really too unhappy with how I look at the moment, but I would like to just kind of move in a direction, right? That's what 0.25%. 0.25%, if you have body fat to lose and you're overweight, do not, people are always like, oh, do it slow and steady, it's more sustainable. Bullshit. Do not go into 0.25%. If you've got body fat to lose, do not do 0.25%. The reason being is it's just so slow that you can blow it out the water if you have one bad week, okay? And what I mean by that is, let's say you do 0.25%, right? Let's say you're 100 kilos. If you do that for 3 weeks in a row, you lose 0.75 kilos in 3 weeks, which is not that much weight if you're 100 kilos and you have a lot of body fat, okay? But the problem with that is you have one bad week, completely feck your deficit out of the water, and you gain that 0.75% back in 1 week, right? Which is pretty easy to do. So after 4 weeks, you're exactly where you are because you went too slow and then you made a mess of something, and now you're back to the start, or even worse, you've regressed, okay? But the person who does it a lot faster, let's say they do 1%, right? So they lose 3 kilos in 3 weeks, and then they make a mess of 1 week and they gain a kilo. They're still at 98 kilos as opposed to 100 kilos, right? They're still 2 kilos net weight loss after a month, even with a messed up week, because they went a bit faster, because they went at it. So if you fat loss, or if you got fat to lose, do not do 0.25%. Do not do it. It's way too slow, okay? So what sort of speed should you do? If you want to make it slow and sustainable, and let's say again you're 100 kilos, just for argument's sake, 0.5% is a decent amount of weight to lose per week, okay? Now, that's for people who do want to do it slow and steady. That's the minimum I do if you have body fat to lose, okay? So again, if you're 100 kilos, that's roughly about 2 kilos a week or month you're going to lose, okay? Which is not massive, but, you know, over the course of 6 months, you can lose about 12 kg, which, you know, if you give yourself that time frame, it's very doable, very manageable, very sustainable if you want to do that, okay? Again, it depends on your body fat levels, and you might be asking me, like, how do you know if you have too much body fat? If you can't see the shape of your muscles, if you have no veins, and if your abs are so far away from being visible, you've got body fat to lose. That's just a simple matter of fact, okay? So here's what I would say. 0.5% is for people who have moderate body fat, you know, over 15%, and they kind of want to lose it over a 12-week period. I have it for some guys, you know, who are reasonably lean. You know, they're not like ab lean or vein lean, but they're nearly there, and then we might do a 12-week cut at about 0.5%. Is a nice kind of zone for them. Now, 0.75%, if you've lots of body fat, perfect number. Really, really good. You can get it off quickly. You can do it fast. It's going to be super motivating. Every week you're going to see wins. And again, if you make a mess of things, you've made so much progress it won't really matter, right? Because you'll be able to get back on the horse because you've got so much momentum and you're happy with how things are going. A really good amount of weight to lose. And then 1%, again, nothing wrong with it. There's nothing extreme about losing 1% of your body weight per week as long as you confine it within a couple of weeks, right? So, for example, you can't lose 1% of your body weight per week for 6 months, right? Probably not sustainable. But if you're doing an 8-12 week cut, probably better off just getting the 1%. And that's what I do with some of my people who are starting out early enough, who are starting out with me, and I do it early enough with them because I like to see them lose the weight quick. So that I might do 1% weight loss per week if they have a lot of body fat to lose. We might do it for 12 weeks, and then we might move to something more sustainable like 0.75, 0.5%. But you have to remember, fat loss isn't sustainable. It's not meant to be sustainable. You're not meant to do it forever, okay? And this is kind of the thing is people always are like, oh, we need to do it sustainably. It's like, why? Why? It's an unsustainable practice. If you lost body fat for the rest of your life wouldn't last very long because you'd die because you wouldn't have enough body fat eventually. So there has to be a point where we stop the fat loss phase. So we might as well get in and out, get it done quickly. So if you have very high amounts of body fat, 0.75%, 1%, get after it, get it done. If you feel motivated, get it done quickly. Why not? Get after it. If you don't have that much body fat, 0.5%, a good amount of body fat to lose each week. 0.25% for people who are relatively lean and they want to get a little bit leaner and they don't really mind how they look and they're not really in a big rush. Again, fine. And yeah, as I said, I would just be using this if you're kind of actually looking to do it like a maintaining or main gaining, you're pretty happy with your physique. I would just lean into, as I said, either weight loss or weight gain. Now, here is the gaining parts of it, okay? So, gain 0.25%. Again, I think that's the magic zone for if you're bulking. Just gaining about 0.25% of your body weight. Again, if you're, let's just use an easier example because if you're 100 kilos, it's unlikely you'll be going through a gaining phase for most people. Unless you're like an elite level bodybuilder and you're 5% body fat, 100 kilos, it's unlikely you're going to be trying to do gaining at 100 kilos. So let's use an easier number. Let's just say you're at like 75 kilos, okay? So that's roughly going to be about 0.2 kilos per week that you're going to be gaining, which is less than a kilo per month. That is kind of the sweet spot because you can only grow a certain amount of muscle per week. What happens is when people bulk, they eat whatever they want and they gain way more weight than that, but you can only maximize the amount of muscle you build per week to a certain extent. So anything after that is just going to be fat, right? So if you gain 0.5, 0.6 kilos in 1 week, it's unlikely that's going to be all muscle. Nearly impossible that's going to be all muscle. So we just want to make sure we maximize muscle growth when we're gaining while minimizing fat gain because we're just going to give ourselves plenty of work. So 0.25% is the Goldilocks zone for gaining. If you want to put on a bit of size, just do it nice and slow and steady. I would say with fat loss, do it nice and quickly. Get in, get out. With gaining muscle, you've no other option but to do it slowly. There's no option of doing it faster. Because obviously if you could do it faster, you'd do it fast. Everyone would just want to get jacked really quickly. It's a slow process. You have to treat it like a slow process. So gaining 0.25% is the magical zone for how much you want to gain. Again, I would just be looking at my body weight. I wouldn't be too concerned about is it going up massively? as long as I'm training hard and my body weight's kind of staying where it is, and as long as I'm progressively overloading, you will be building muscle. And we just want to see our weight creep up just a little bit every single month, kilo max, right? You commit to that for 6 months, you put on 6 kilos of pretty lean body mass. Majority of it will be muscle. You just have to commit to it for a long time. 0.5%, I don't do it really with anyone except someone who comes to me like malnourished, like they're way underweight, have no muscle, no body fat. Yeah, we're just going to start packing on some size. They need it. They need some food in their system. That's when I would use 0.5%. So if you're not malnourished, like if you're not lean and have no muscle, I wouldn't recommend 0.5% for anyone. 0.75%, 1%. I wouldn't really go near it at all. I don't think it's going to be beneficial. I think you're going to gain a lot of fat. It's just there as an option. You might want to do it. So let's just say we use the Goldilocks number here, 0.5% for me, okay? Now, when you put that in, and then if I put in my steps, 10 to 12K steps, what you'll see here is, I'm going to actually put in my real body weight here, just for argument's sake. So what you'll actually see here is my calories come up with my macros as well. So 2,460, 187 protein, 243 carbs, and 82 grams of fat. And if you have a look here at the phase planner, so this is for the 4 weeks. So if I lose 0.5% each week, I should be down to about 83.73 kilos. So I should lose about 1.3 kilos over the course of 4 weeks. And again, as I said, the reason I like to have weight measurements here is because it gives me something to aim at, gives me a reference point of what I'm trying to do and how quickly I'm trying to do it, and then it gives me something to aim at. So I know if I'm not actually hitting these weight targets each week with this calorie deficit, I might need to go lower with the calories, I might need to be more adherent to the calories that have been set, I might need to track more accurately. A few things can come into play here. So yeah, I just like mapping it out and having an idea of how fast I'm going to do it. So if I did 0.75%, I'd lose 2 kilos. Now it's likely if I was to do a 4-week cut, I will be at 0.75% or 1%. So 1% here, let's have a look. Yeah, I'd be down 2.5 kilos in 4 weeks, which again isn't insane. Pretty normal amount of weight to lose. But yeah, it's good to have an idea of how quickly you want to do things and, you know, what phase you're trying to go through, and, you know, give yourself a reference point to where you like to go. So yeah, that is the speed at which I would do it. So yeah, if you would like this free resource, it is in the link to this YouTube video. It's called 4 Weeks Free Coaching. You sign up with your email, you get sent an email every 4 weeks, every week, showing you how to do your check-in, how to analyze the numbers, and how to do everything. So yeah, you know, you're able to input your data, you'll get your macros and calories here, you'll get your steps here, and then your phase planner will show you how, you know, what your reference point for how much weight you should lose, where your calories are going to be at for the next 4 weeks, where your steps are going to be at for the next 4 weeks, and then there is somewhere to track all your data as well. And yeah, you can get into it there. And then your measurements, so you can take measurements on week 1 and week 4. It's likely the only thing that's going to change is your stomach. You might see some improvements in other areas potentially, but not likely in 4 weeks. And then there's a training plan template, so you can actually design your own workout as well here. So yeah, it's a really good resource, absolutely free. You just have to sign up using the link below. And yeah, let me know what you think of it.